Hi guys, my name is Brianna and welcome to Zynska, your resource for fashion knowledge and apparel information. It is Material Monday and today we're talking about nylon. What is it? What are its properties? How's it made? Let's get right into it. Nylon is an incredibly useful synthetic thermoplastic that's used by melting it down and molding it for a variety of applications. This can include use in apparel products such as windbreakers, tights, or even satin gowns, as well as other textile products like seatbelts, toothbrush bristles, and even parachutes. When used as a textile fiber, the plastic is extruded through a machine called a spinneret, which looks like a shower head and works kind of like a garlic press. The molten nylon is pressed through the spinneret, creating long strings of aligned polymers. When the fibers are cooled, they can be spun onto spools to be used as yarns. When not being used for fibers, nylon can be used to create other plastic products like gears, car parts, cable ties, or medical tools. Some of the properties of nylon are that it is durable, it has a very high tensile strength, which means resistance to breakage under tension. It's resistant to abrasion, wrinkles, decay, fungi, and many chemicals, including acids and alkalis. It dries quickly. This is because the fiber is hydrophobic, meaning that it repels water. It is elastic. It retains its shape without any shrinkage, which makes it great for washing and drying. It varies in luster. It can be shiny. It can be matte. It can be whatever you want it to be. It's color fast, which is unusual for a synthetic fiber due to its chemical composition. It actually takes acid dyes really well. It has good resistance to sunlight and other forms of weathering. It can be heat set, which is great for pleats. It has a high melting point. Depending on the type of nylon, it's usually between 375 and 665 degrees Fahrenheit. It should be noted that it will melt rather than burn, so you have to be careful, like if you're in a fire, be careful of your nylon stockings because they will melt onto the skin. However, due to its high melting point, thicker nylon treated with heat protectants can be very effective. The nylon family is a group of similar synthetic fibers called polyamides, which consist of long chains of molecules called polymers made up of smaller molecules called monomers. Keep in mind that nylon has different formulas, trade names, and property, so if you want to be really specific, nylon is not a really specific classification. It's very, very generic. In addition, different additives can be added to nylon to give it different properties. For example, nylon is often mixed with spandex to make athletic wear and swimsuits, or sometimes dyes are added to give the fibers color. The creation of nylon involves two basic monomers, an acid and an amine, which when combined create a very strong peptide bond. This helps make it stronger than a lot of traditional materials like silk, which it was originally invented to replace. Though also made up of amino acids, silk is held together by much weaker hydrogen bonds. The stronger chemical bonds give nylon a much longer half-life, which is not so great for the environment as some peptide bonds can have a half-life of up to 600 years. Nylon normally takes 30 to 40 years to decay depending on environmental factors. Funnily enough, spider silk is also made of peptide bonds, but there are plenty of environmental factors such as bacteria, enzymes, and even the spiders themselves that will eat their webs that help it decay. So the next time you see a spider, congratulate the little guy for figuring out something humans are still struggling with. For more information on spider silk applications in textiles, I encourage you to look up BioSteel, an engineered spider silk extracted via lactation from transgenic goats. You heard that correctly. To create nylon, we use a process called nylon synthesis, which is a condensation reaction. This means that the chemical reaction occurs when water or some other newly created small molecule, such as HCl, is removed from the equation. Nylon is typically created in chemical labs from carbon-based chemicals such as coal or petroleum by subjecting them to heat and pressure in an autoclave, which is basically a large pressure cooker. An experienced chemist can create nylon by carefully pouring a solution of cebical chloride over top of hexamethylene diamine solution. creating two layers of liquid that sit on top of one another but do not mix. The reaction that takes place in between these two layers creates a film that can be pulled out in a long strand. This concept is called interfacial polycondensation. Do not try this on your own. The chemicals can be irritating and are flammable, so don't do that unless you're an experienced actual chemist. Don't do it. So to give you a brief history of how nylon came about, once upon a time, the chemical manufacturer DuPont was trying to get into the business of artificial silk by making rayon. Now rayon, as a new technology at the time, was becoming a very profitable business. The problem was that even though it was an okay replacement for silk, it was very brittle and prone to breakage, and the chemists at DuPont were put to work to try to fix this. Charles M.A. Stein, the director of DuPont's chemical department, suggested that the company focus more on innovation and brand new scientific research rather than just focusing on improving rayon alone. At the time, this was a pretty wild idea because, like most businesses, they wanted to just make money and not take too many risks. But a committee eventually took a leap of faith and approved of this request, and he was granted funding to pursue this research to find a new synthetic material with better durability and elasticity. DuPont's research center was then established, and it was known as Purity Hall. Contrary to what this may sound like, Purity Hall refers to the pure academic and scientific research of the lab, unmired by thoughts of business or profit. This was not a comment on the presumably barren social lives of the scientists.
Wallace H. Carruthers
was hired to direct the research, and under his direction, nylon was patented for DuPont by 1935. It ran into a little bit of press trouble before its release. A Washington News article claimed that nylon could be made using a chemical extracted from putrefied cadavers called cadaverine. That chemical is real, but that is not what nylon is made of at all. So this was obviously untrue, but you couldn't Google it back then. So DuPont had to stress to the public that their new material was derived from coal, not rotting human corpses. So the issue eventually blew over, and by 1939, Stein's idea to expand research was proven absolutely correct when nylon became commercially available to enormous success. After its introduction at the 1938 World Fair, it did especially well in the market of women's hosiery, becoming such a popular material for them that the term nylons became synonymous with stockings. At the time, it was competing with silk and rayon in this market, and its success is mainly due to the fact that it was much stretchier and easier to wash than either of these materials. Due to DuPont's wishes to keep the word nylon very generic, it's still not a trademarked one. So nylon is just the generic term that anybody can use, which is kind of awesome. Only a year after its nationwide release, DuPont had to shift its manufacturing from stockings to military equipment, following the bombing of Pearl Harbor. During that time, nylon was used for things like nets, ropes, parachutes, protective gear, and tires. People could no longer buy nylon stockings, so many women resorted to buying them for a steep price off the black market, or painting their legs with makeup marketed as liquid stockings. They would even go so far as to get eyeliner and draw the seam up the back of their legs. In fact, these false stockings are often cited as one of the main reasons why having clean-shaven legs became popular among women. And can we stop now, please? It's been 80 years. Anyway, with the help of nylon's high tensile strength, durability, and lightweight, its resistance to mildew, the Allied forces were able to win World War II. Following the war, nylon stockings were reintroduced into the consumer markets, and they sold out immediately in most places and amassed crowds so large that these gatherings were known as the Nylon Riots. And they weren't really riots, but Black Friday wasn't really so much of a thing back then, and it kind of turned into Black Friday, so it was scary for some people. Nylon was highly favorable as a new technology in the 1950s and into the 1960s, and even made its way onto the moon in the form of the flag planted on the Apollo 11 mission. Eventually, though, people got tired of its shiny surface, and they started becoming concerned with its environmental impact. For a couple decades, synthetics were considered to be very cheap, tacky, and undesirable. However, they had a resurgence during the 90s as new technologies allowed for a steep rise in quality, giving them features like softness and wicking. Today, nylon remains as a very popular material, comprising of 20% of the world's manufactured fiber production, with just under 600,000 metric tons produced in the United States from 2019. And that's probably not good because it doesn't go away. It takes like 30 to 40 years to decompose. So it's not as bad as like polyester, which can take hundreds of years, but it's still not good. It's not good. Anyway, that's all I have for now. That's probably enough for now. Please remember to follow us and subscribe and all of those lovely things.